Good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I am honored to be your first speaker today, kicking off your TEDx Fayetteville experience with a little inspiration on how to rise with grace. Picture this. It's the summer of 2002. I am 25 years old, I am hot, I am fit, and most importantly, I am free. A few years before, I had abandoned the safe academic path and the straight shot toward law school, and along with some good friends of mine, founded a traveling circus sideshow cabaret. We traveled all over the country. We booked our own shows, we did our own publicity. That's where I cut my teeth on public relations. We made our own rules. We lived a magical life beyond convention. And I felt pretty invincible in this regard because we lived so far beyond the boundaries. So when a friend called and invited me to San Francisco for a rock climbing trip, I said, why not? I had never been rock climbing before, but I was comfortable in my body and I loved a good adventure. So I got on a plane from New Orleans to San Francisco, went to the rock climbing gym, mastered the art of belay quite easily, and woke up on a beautiful Saturday morning, a perfect 78 degrees, blue skies, and drove to Los Gatos, California, and began summiting some peaks. And the morning went well. I was doing my best Spider-Woman impression, waiting for the guide to reset the ropes, and I scrambled up about 30 feet, put my foot out to come down, and a second later was on the ground with a boulder underneath my back, unable to move. In one breath, my entire calendar disappeared. Everything I thought I was going to do the next day, the next week, the next month, gone. And my body, which at this point was the tool for my livelihood, was rendered useless. I have lived on ledges and in rooms where hard decisions get made. From circus co-founder to senior communications executive, yoga teacher, modern mystic. The wisdom I'm sharing with you today is not theory. It has been field tested more times than I would like to admit. To quote the great contemporary Christian song by Brandon Lake, this wisdom is the result of a hard-fought hallelujah. When we fall, most of us do one of two things. We grind down, we push harder, we compartmentalize and stuff all those feelings down, or we numb out. Well, I've tried both, and they work for a little while until they reach the point of diminishing returns where they no longer serve you and plummet you into the depths of a darker despair. And they do that because they delay the moment we confront reality and get the stuff that we need to change. Your fall may not look like mine. Maybe it's not a great big injury. Maybe it's an untimely job loss. Been there too. A divorce, the death of a loved one, a diagnosis. Big or small, the ground still arrives. At the hospital, I learned that I had sustained a fracture to my low back about 1 millimeter from my spinal cord. That close to being paralyzed. Whew, I got lucky. And you would think that I kind of took the cues here from the universe and wised up, but that's not what happened. If anything, my ego puffed up even bigger. And I gotta tell you, life has a way of humbling you. And you either take the cues and humble yourself, or you get humbled. And I've learned the hard way that it's much easier to humble yourself than to play defense after the rebound. So as I mentioned, I did not take the cues. My ego puffed up and I plummeted into a deeper, darker pit of despair. The darkest place I had been in my life, before that time or since. Fraught with alcoholism and addiction and a series of really poor choices. Until one day I found myself on another ledge, blacked out, drunk. Now this ledge was only 6 feet, but I stepped backwards off of it and landed on my head. I sustained a traumatic brain injury. I fractured my skull in the back. It sloshed my brain to the front right corner. And that concussion landed me in the hospital for a week, drifting in and out of consciousness, fighting for my life, and not knowing if I would be able to speak again. Now, mind you, by this time I was already a communications professional, and yet again, the tool upon which I had built my livelihood was at risk. But as the great songwriter Leonard Cohen wrote, "The crack is how the light gets in." And that crack became my mirror. By the grace of God, when I could finally get out of the hospital bed, I looked at myself and I said, I am not okay. I don't have this anymore, and I am ready to change. That one sentence finally cut the story that I had been performing my entire life, this person I thought I was supposed to be, and wiped the slate clean so that I could begin again and become the person that I was meant to be. You see, confidence does not come before surrender. Wisdom does not come before surrender. It follows it. I have always been a seeker. Christianity, Buddhism, yoga, neuroscience. And across all of these traditions, the same wisdom emerges. When we forget our connection to that which is greater than ourselves, we suffer. When we chase the wrong things, we suffer. When we grasp, when we grip, when we crave, when we avert, when we resist what persists, we suffer. When we live too far in the past or too far forward in the future, we suffer. But we don't have to. We can rewire our brains. We can choose differently. We can let go of bad, old, toxic habit forms and carve new neural pathways. We can find connection. The late neuroscientist, Dr. James Doty, showed through his research that we are actually neurologically, biologically hardwired for connection and toward compassion. That's compassion for ourselves and for others, and connection to that which is greater than us and to others. And when we act beyond that, outside of that, we are actually working against our own biology. That causes dis-ease and distress. Maybe you're thinking, Amanda, this does not apply to me. I've never fallen. My life is pretty easy peasy. I make good decisions. And if that is you, hallelujah, congratulations. But many of us experience one of two kinds of falls, sometimes both. There's the one that blindsides you, that we've been talking about. But there's also the slow one that you could see coming if only you knew how to tune in and pay attention to the cues. Short-tempered, irritability, yelling at the dry cleaning lady or the waitress, ongoing conflict with your spouse, your kids, the pain in your neck that never goes away, low back pain, high blood pressure, irritable bowels. All of these cues are telling you to pay attention. An irritability, a restlessness, and a discontent that you can't name. But if we learn to tune into these cues, we can rewire in time. We can keep from crashing. And the toolkit I'm about to share with you can be used mid-fall before you hit the ground, or you can pick up the tools once life has totally knocked you down. Because we don't need 1,000 strategies. What we need is grace. I call this the Grace Toolkit. And it starts with G. Give up the shoulds. I should be making more money. I should have a better house. I should be in a different relationship. He should not have said that to me. Yada, yada, yada. You can argue with this all day long, but the shoulds are counter to reality. Knock it off. Drop them right now. Because once you do that, it frees you to meet reality where it is. Once you give up the shoulds, you can welcome the revelation and reveal what's true. I'm not okay in this moment. I'm hurting. I accept this for what it is. Whatever your revelation is, once you confront that reality in acceptance, you can stop performing the story that you've been telling yourselves your whole life and meet yourself honestly at the beginning again. And then you're in a position to ask for help. For me, that help is saying a prayer out loud. I can't, you can, please help. Thank you. For you, it might be sending a text message to a dear friend or making a phone call, or maybe it's a combination of both. Remember, we are hardwired to do this stuff together, not alone. Ask for help. And once you do that, you've moved through surrender and honesty and the humility of asking for help, you can move into action. Choose one step that you can begin today, not 1,000. Maybe it's sitting for 2 minutes in the morning in quiet. Maybe it's lacing up your shoes and taking a walk around the block. On the hardest days, when we're in grief or despair, that one step might be getting out of bed and putting our pants on. Some days that's enough. But once we take one step, then we can add another and another, and we build resilience in the body. And that moves us into E. We can embody the gift. Anchor this in your body. These bodies are all we have. These are our holy instruments, our sacred vessels to move through this lifetime. And when we anchor this stuff in our body that keeps the score, then it rewires the circuitry in our brain. And over time, that builds character. Over time, we can carve these new pathways and these new habits and learn to rise. So if you don't mind, indulge me for a moment. I'm gonna have you close your eyes. This is a safe space. Close your eyes and take a breath. Bring to mind one should that's weighing on you right now. Give it up. Go ahead and drop that. Reveal what's true about this situation. This is where I really am. I accept this for what it is. Ask for help. In your mind's eye, maybe you utter a small prayer, or maybe you bring up an image of the person that you will call or text when you leave here today. Choose one step that you can not quietly undo. One step you can take before the end of the day or the weekend. Take a breath in, exhale, and embody that gift. This is grace in motion. Open your eyes if you haven't already. Our culture has taught us that surrender is weakness and that humility is defeat. Well, we've been brainwashed. Those are lies. Humility is not shrinking. Humility is accuracy. It is the doorway to freedom and liberation. Strength is not never falling down. Strength is the choice that you make on the ground. It's how you get up again that defines you. And through the power of grace, we develop this ability to transform what life has done to us into what life is offering for us. There's so much that happens in our lives that we cannot control. But what we can control is our response to those situations, whether they're mistakes that we've made or whether we've gotten in the pathway of someone else's crap. If I could go back to my 25-year-old self on that ground in Los Gatos, California, I would hand her this grace toolkit. And I would say, wake up, pay attention, do this now. You can do this. One breath, one step, one day at a time. Life will do its best to humble you, but you don't have to stay down. Like a tree in a hurricane, you can learn to bend with the wind whenever the storms come. When you practice grace daily, over and over, building it one step at a time, you can develop strong roots that will anchor you in the earth, anchor you in your body, so that when the next storm comes, you know how to weather it. We are gonna fall down. If you live long enough, you'll probably fall a few times. Every time I think that I've reached a new plateau, I kind of plummet again, but my falls are not as hard today. And yours don't have to be either. Because it's not that we're never gonna fail or fall, it's how we rise with grace that empowers us to soar. And if you pick up this grace toolkit, you give up the shoulds, you reveal what's true, ask for help, choose one step, and embody the gift that comes, then you have already begun to soar. Thank you.